The door to my house was slightly ajar when I returned. My hands still smelled like lilies. From the funeral. From the last bouquet I ever placed at my mother's side. Hi, I'm Logan Pierce. 38. Married for 7 years. No kids by choice, she said. My mother passed quietly in her sleep, but not before whispering something that lit a fuse inside me. Checked the second drawer in my desk after the service. Alone. Inside was the deed to 2 farmland properties in North Carolina, and a hidden will. Not only that, a third document. A mansion. Palm Beach. Paid off. All left to me. Only me. I drove home, heart pounding, ready to tell my wife and her family. Maybe, just maybe, this would be the moment we all came together for once. But as I reached for the doorknob, I paused. Laughter. Her voice. Her sister's. Her father's. He's so gullible, she was saying. Mom's gone now, he's got no one left. Then her sister chimed in. Did he believe you when you said you'd stay with him no matter what? More laughter. I didn't open the door. I took one step back. And in that moment, everything changed. I stood outside my own house like a stranger. Inside they were still laughing. Loud. Careless. My name came up again, this time with a sneer I'd never heard from her before. Once he signs over the house refinance, her father said, we'll be done babysitting his broke ass. You'll file, we'll split it clean. Then a clink of glasses. Celebrating. My fingers curled tight around the will in my coat pocket. They didn't know about it. Not yet. And suddenly, they didn't deserve to. So I walked away. Drove to the old diner off Route 9 where Mom used to take me when life felt too heavy. I slid into a corner booth, pulled out the documents and stared at my mother's signature. She had known. She knew what kind of people I was living with. And she trusted me, not them, with everything. That night I didn't go home. I booked a motel room under a different name. I called an attorney friend from college I hadn't spoken to in years. Are you still doing property law? I asked. He paused. Yeah. Why? I stared at the ceiling. Because I'm ready to disappear. Quietly. At 6 a.m., I sat with steam curling from my coffee cup and papers spread across the motel desk. 2 farms. A coastal mansion. And a will with one condition I hadn't seen before. Do not let them take what they never valued. Mom had handwritten that part. A warning dressed as wisdom. My phone buzzed. 17 missed calls from my wife. A voicemail. Logan, where are you? You just vanished? We need to talk. Dad said we can fix this if you just stop being dramatic. I didn't reply. Instead, I sent a short email to the family accountant, someone who'd always respected my mother. Effective immediately, freeze all remaining shared assets. Legal review pending. Logan Pierce. I also attached the scanned will, the land records, and a confidential retainer letter from my attorney. By 8 a.m. the group chat lit up. Her, what is this? Her sister, Logan, seriously? We had a deal. Her father, you think you can pull this off quietly? I didn't reply. Instead, I rented a car and drove south. To the mansion in Palm Beach. Because I wanted to see it with my own eyes, before they did. The gates to the mansion were rusted, but the property itself stood like a forgotten movie set, ivy draped across white columns, palms swaying like silent guards. I stepped inside. The air smelled like old citrus and memory. My mother had lived here once, long before I was born. That's what the caretaker told me, an older man named Ramon who'd been on the land longer than the foundation itself. She used to play piano in that room, he said, pointing to a sunroom with faded wallpaper and dust-covered keys. I walked through slowly, absorbing the quiet luxury my mother had kept hidden from the world, and from me. In the study I found a safe. Inside, title deeds, photographs, and a sealed envelope with my name. Logan. My hands trembled. Inside the letter, her words. This is yours not just by blood but by integrity. If they try to come for it, let them. You don't need to fight. You only need to reveal. Reveal. I sat back in the leather chair and finally understood. She'd left me more than property. She'd left me the power to end this entire game, without ever raising my voice. I stayed in the mansion that night. No noise. No lies. Just silence, the kind that lets your mind reset. By morning I'd made my decision. At exactly 9:01 a.m., I uploaded a single file to the cloud. A scanned copy of Mom's will, the asset list, and a letter she'd addressed, to whom it may concern, documenting the abuse, manipulation, and abandonment she'd witnessed from my wife's side of the family in her final months. I didn't leak it to the public. Not yet. Instead, I forwarded it to one person, my wife's corporate compliance officer. 5 minutes later I got a reply. Mr. Pierce, we'd like to schedule a formal conversation regarding fiduciary misrepresentation. I smiled. At 10 a.m. I received a call from her father. I didn't answer. Then one from her sister. I ignored that too. But when my wife finally texted, I opened it. You need to stop this. You're being cruel. I stared at the screen. Cruel? They'd discarded my mother. Lied to my face. Celebrated my grief. But now that consequences were arriving, I was the problem? I typed one word and hit send. Reveal. The fallout came faster than I expected. By noon, the company's board had called an emergency meeting. My wife's father wasn't just on the board, he was the chair. But now, with evidence of shady financial transfers and abuse of influence tied to my mother's estate, his position wasn't just at risk, it was radioactive. The compliance officer forwarded me an internal memo. Her father had stepped down, pending investigation. My wife tried to call again. I let it ring. Then came the knock on the front door. It was her. Standing there in a designer coat, sunglasses, and the same performative panic she'd always reserved for when she was cornered. Logan, she began. We were angry, we were stupid. But we can fix this. You've made your point. I studied her face. A face I once thought I'd grow old with. Then I opened the folder in my hands and passed her a copy of the deed. To the mansion? She asked, confused. No, I said calmly. To the farms. You can visit. But you'll need permission. They're being converted into a grief therapy foundation, for people who know what real loss is. She didn't say anything at first. Just stared at the folder like it was written in another language. Her confidence cracked. Not loudly, but in the quiet way people crumble when control slips through their fingers. You're being cold, she finally whispered. This isn't you. No, I said. This is me when I stop pretending. She looked past me into the mansion as if searching for something she still owned. There was nothing left for her there, not the photographs, not the land, and definitely not me. I made one mistake, she said. I raised an eyebrow. You made a pattern, I replied. I let the silence sit between us. Then I stepped aside, revealing a printed photo framed on the table behind me, my mother smiling at a younger version of me, arms muddy from planting, a beam of sunlight cutting across the frame. She left this place because she knew what people like you would do, I said. But she trusted I'd know when it was time to reclaim it. I stepped forward. This isn't revenge. It's reclamation. She opened her mouth to respond. But I had already closed the door. Behind her. She tried one last time, an email, not dramatic, just a line. We were both wrong. Maybe there's a way forward. I read it twice. Not because I was tempted, but because it reminded me of how easily she twisted things into equal footing. There was no we in the betrayal. Only silence, gaslighting, and cold calculation on her part. And survival on mine. I didn't reply. Instead, I walked to the edge of the land my mother had left me. The Florida breeze curled through the palms. Workers were already surveying for the therapy retreat. A place not just for others to heal, but for me to remember I survived her. All of them. The house behind me was no longer a home haunted by fake love. It was mine now, stripped of pretense, lit with truth. I pulled out my phone, opened the last photo I had of Mom, smiling in her garden, and whispered, I kept my promise. And for the first time in years I felt still. Not victorious. Just free. I turned back toward the house. There was no one left to lie to. No one left to prove anything to. Just the sound of my own steps on solid ground.